right, so first I just want to start. I'm a combination of digital and old-fashioned here, but I do want to say that I come from New York. I listen to all of my podcasts at 1.5 speed, so if I tend to be too fast, please yell out, slow down, damn you. And I answer very, very well to that. So having just heard Robert's speech, talk, what I want to say is that that went pretty dark. And I'm now going to go darker. Okay? Now, I'm also a glass, forget the glass is half empty or half full. I'm a glass is on its way to being all full kind of person. So that hopefully we'll end up at this stage with some thoughts that I hope you all take and run with on where to go from here. But what I want to do is, after I figure this out, what I want to do is start by saying that what I'm going to talk about today, to a large degree, comes from the fact, I told Megan this, that forget what it was we had talked about me talking about. In the last several weeks alone, on 3 separate occasions, I've been interviewed or asked to talk about some very real fears that people in the traditional film industries have, as well as parents of students and students themselves have around the issues of AI and machine learning. And so what I wanted to do is to start with what's behind that. And what I generally find is that these fears and worries tend to come around 5 different things. So if I could paraphrase them, here's why they're worried. One of them is, yeah, you know, I understand film, but just what in hell is emerging media? I don't understand what that means, and so as a result, I'm afraid of it. We're kind of conservative beings in a certain way, most of us. So if we don't get it, we can't jump in and embrace it. So that's one. Then the second one is, and I just bunched a whole bunch of VR, AR, MR, XR, 3D, whatever R you want. Isn't that just a gimmick? I mean, look at what happened with 3D several years ago. It's gone, and usually then in parentheses they say, thank God. Right? So how do we know that this stuff that you're talking about is sustainable? I think Robert actually gave you a couple of very strong reasons why these things can be sustainable. But are we just running after something that's going to disappear? Isn't it just a gimmick? Right? The next one is, and this I find both from a student level as well as from people in the industry, they're going to come and take my jobs. Right? Machine learning, AI, is all about taking jobs. Right? So that's another fear. Fourth fear, there's a lot of stuff you're talking about here. How can our students learn everything? Don't they become jack of all trades, masters of none if we do that? What does that mean for learning? What does that mean for their ability to specialize? I put a couple of those words in air quotes. And then the final one is, really? Interdisciplinary? Hey, people have been talking about that for years. And as far as we can tell, interdisciplinary just means students get confused about who's in charge and what, and that ultimately what's going to happen is nobody gets tenure because there's no home offices and blah, 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 blah. Boy, I am scared about all of this. All right? So one of the reasons why Megan asked me to talk here, I'm assuming, is because in my day job, when I'm not here in my second home, here in Lincoln, I'm in Los Angeles and I teach. I'm a full professor at the University of Southern California School of Cinematic Arts, which is the new name for the film school. So all moving images. And we struggle with the exact same things. We struggle with them sometimes to greater degree than you will, and sometimes to less of a degree because of our location and all of that. So let me just start off by saying what I think are the differences between the schools in ways so we can really help clarify some of this discussion. So We differ from Carson here in a number of key ways. One is our size. We are, last time I checked, the technical term I think is ginormous, both in terms of our students and our faculty. I'll give you a couple of data points in just a minute. Secondly, our location. When I first started working with the Carson School, one of the things that seemed most important to me was that you'd not try and replicate a 20th century film school in the middle of Nebraska, right? We can do, and we do at times at USC, replicate a 20th century film school, except we do it where we can have tons and tons of people come from the industry right outside. And the industry, much though they say they're not, is still a 20th century industry. So we can do that. You can't, nor should you want to. All right? So location is a big difference. We have 7 different divisions inside our film school alone. This is, as we like to say, flippin' ridiculous. And anytime I do consultative work with schools worldwide, I say, do not do what we do. Don't do that, because that works really, really well if it's 1985. Does not work so well in a world where everybody has to collaborate across these boundaries. All right? So that's one thing. By the way, whatever I say here stays here, right? That's, I am tenured, but I have a strong dean, so it doesn't necessarily matter, right? And that falls right into the interdisciplinary nature. We actually have been working very hard through our Media Arts and Practice division to help faculty and students work across the entire campus. We're not there yet. It's going to be a long time before we're there, but UNL, I think, is much better at this interdisciplinary stuff than we are. So that's another big difference between SC and UNL. So just a little bit of data behind it. So that's our statistics from a year ago. So we have in the cinema school alone, this is not USC, but the cinema school alone, right, we are about, 1,600 students. Right? We make, across all of our students, across people who are just taking classes with us, with minors and all of that, we actually make about 1,500 films each year. So we are a studio ourselves. That creates certain things. We have 100 full-time faculty and over 200 part-time faculty because we have an immense, in Los Angeles, an immense source for these kinds of things. But also take a look at the number of staff that it takes to fully run what we consider an emerging media arts school. That's 144 full-time employees versus 96 full-time faculty. There are more people who help us keep on track than there are people who are doing the teaching in that way. So that's just a reality of running a film school at that size. I like the living alumni number there. It's rounded to the nearest 100. We do good marketing, by the way. And here's what our program looks like. So we have 7 divisions across many different subject areas. And these are our minors and certificates that we give. That's a part for each of these gives varying maybe 3 undergrad degrees as well as grad degrees. And those are the minors. So this is an immense, I was going to say Titanic, but that comes with the wrong implications. It's an immense ocean liner that needs to be steered. Is it any wonder that we have problems in terms of doing the steering? All right, so now let's go back to the questions, those 5 questions that our faculty, our students, our parents, and also people in the various industries have been asking me. So the first one is, I understand film, but what's this emerging media stuff? Don't get it. All right, so, yeah, we know who he is, and at one point, he was colorized, right? The industry moved, forget the colorization part, and Ted Turner, thank you very much. We did move from black and white film to color. That was an emerging art at its time. Sound was an emerging art at its time. Widescreen was emerging at its time. Television was emerging and frightfully scary to the people who weren't in it. Film was emerging. Right? There was a point where there was no film. Then all of a sudden there was stuff going on in film. So it was all emerging. The one thing that's similar about all of this in my mind is as new things came in, the older media tended to go away. So you didn't see a lot of black and white films after we went color. You saw very few silent films after we introduced sound. The new media becomes the lingua franca of the moment. It's what our students know when they come in. And to kind of go backwards is weird. There are a few times when they go weird, and that's all right. But in general, old media tends to go away. So my definition of emerging media is a really, really basic, stupid one. It's what's coming up now, and it's what's coming up next that we don't know about. If we know what emerging media is, it's no longer emerging, in my point of view. So that what a structure that we have to do, we have to figure out how to create it. This is where our students are really, really valuable at SC, and I believe here, after talking with a large number of them, that what emerging media means to them is hopefully different than what it means to me. And if I listen to me, then I'm usually wrong. If I listen to a bunch of the students, then I think we get better at defining what emerging media is. Or we simply react to it. That's not what I see for this institution. Yeah, no point in that anymore. So, how about, isn't this just a gimmick? All these R's, the RAR, MRXR, it isn't just a gimmick. Well, no. Why? So these are just a small sampling of some headlines recent. So BAFTA, the British Association of Film and Television, British artists, are showing all kinds of and beginning to give awards to and beginning to acknowledge that in an art form, in a storytelling form, mixed reality has a future. And in fact, when you move things like the Motion Picture Academy and BAFTA off of their dime, that takes an enormous amount of effort, and they're not going to do it until they feel there's some value in it. When the studios start to look at it and go like, what's going on? As they are now, almost every big movie which is coming out has some kind of MR component hanging off the side, even if it's just used in marketing. All right, so here's one. There's another one. It's going on right now in France, Cannes Film Festival, and they have an entire VR section. I don't know how good it is, but people who I know who have seen this are like, oh my God. And it's not about the VR. What is it about? It is about the refugee crisis. This is a story that Inarito wants to tell, and he's simply using a different medium to tell it. Why the hell not? And what about this? Teaching science using AR. I mean, there are people who say right now that AR's value right now, forget in the future, right now is in medicine, is in engineering, is in instructional material, anything where you want to be able to move around, get inside, see things from different perspectives. So why not? Right, so these are things people are beginning to pay attention to. Oh, here comes the scary one, right? What about this? So this guy over here on the bottom left, he's done a few things with emerging media, right? Mark Zuckerberg. Phil Hodgetts, who has done a lot of work around metadata as well as machine learning, says basically that anything that can be taught in 3 days or less is a candidate for automation. This is the really dark part, right? So, Robert, I see you and raise you on this one. Anything that takes this length of time can be automated. All right, so I think that's a good start for a conversation. I don't fully believe that, but I think there is. So with that looking ahead, what are we teaching? All right, well, here's someone who disagrees, Kai-Fu Lee, who comes from Google and Microsoft, believes something quite different. That, yeah, or maybe it's the same, actually. Yeah, we can't teach art in 3 days or under, right? That's lifelong. So AI can actually help us do what we want to do, and there are actually things that we're developing right now at USC and in other places. You'll hear from some of those other places later on today, if I ever shut up, that will help creatives do this. And it's not just in a storytelling, well, it's all storytelling. It's not just in a what we've known as creative side of things. It's creatively looking at many different interdisciplinary forms: science, engineering, medicine, et cetera, et cetera. So there's so much there that people grow up in a world of story, in a world of cinematic visual story. We can help that. This is what our students should be thinking about. So there's Kai-Fu Lee. Here are some of the things that I believe are candidates for elimination right now. Assistant editing. So my field is editing. I tell my editing students, assistant editing, well, in 5 years, that job won't be the same as it is now, so don't learn everything the way it is now. Learn to learn how it's different, and now's a fantastic transition point for you. Glass is on its way to being all full. Right? So the learning to learn part is important. This transitionary time where it'd be really, really good to have people like ourselves, like the people at the Carson School, to be able to direct some of the way in which these things are moving, saying, yeah, but what happens if we add this? Sean will, I hope, talk about this a little bit later. We did at dinner last night, in terms of how the artist influences the technology and vice versa. It's collaborative. Okay, so the good news for you is I'm not in the home stretch. No, I promise I am. I promise I am. So how can they learn everything is really the question. I've hinted at this already. It's about how you teach them to learn. I think one way to do it is to have a tough curriculum, but a curriculum which is nimble so it can change. If we're doing interdisciplinary work that happens over, 5 weeks here and then another 5 weeks somewhere else, it's stupid to fit it all into a semester structure. The very structures that we teach with, as Robert so accurately pointed out, the sage on the stage, back to all of you who are nodding your heads, except for the few who've nodded out completely. Those are the things that we can take and say, how do you encourage that? Oh yeah, you can work with some over in this school, and we'll support that financially. We'll support that organizationally. We'll support that bureaucratically, as opposed to create problems. So the flexibility in the tough curriculum is really, really important. How do you go out somewhere else and bring back what you've learned into this degree? So, so very quickly, I have some slides here. So why interdisciplinary? Take a look at where it's being used right now. So VR, used for dementia patients, help them reconnect with certain things. That's medical. Right? And I know that you guys are doing it already, that there's so much movement towards interdisciplinary work. I will also say that you're not there yet. There's a lot of stuff that's in the way, and you'll get there. But it's a positive side of what you do that you can build on to get to the next step. And I think we covered this, so this one I can easily zip through in the sense of saying that there are some things that we do in terms of fostering classes in partnerships with companies, in partnerships with other schools that don't necessarily have a syllabus. The first day, I shouldn't admit this in front of all of you, please don't tell my dean. The first day of, Chuck, I see you writing this down. Don't do this. The first day of every class, I rewrite the syllabus with my students. Right? I still have a syllabus, because if I don't, I get fired. Right? I still have to have a syllabus, but the syllabus is largely theirs and mine. I'm there to give the whole perspective. You say you want to learn that here? You will in 2 semesters. I'm not worried about that. So let's put that on the back burner. You don't want to learn that? I think you need to in order to do what you're going to do in the next semester. But wow, you've already learned that? All of you now already know that stuff? Let's throw it out. What are the things you're not seeing? What are the things you are seeing? And we come up with a different syllabus that I sneak onto the website. So the ways in which we can use more innovative teaching methods and pedagogy, the way in which we try and do things like this. And this is an amazing event with some people who really think forward. And the challenge is going to be what happens afterwards, because I know damn well, coming from academia, that the next thing that's going to happen after that is, yeah, this is all good, but. Right? And so the improv nature of what the future demands, where we say yes and rather than no but, is going to be really important moving forward, and I would beg of you to get to that place before you go to the other place. So if you want to contact me, that's where you can. A lot of the slides that I've had up here have links to them, so if you want any of that, you can go there. And thank you so much. This has been a great pleasure. Thank you.